to Grazing Hell, the one and only podcast made by a cow. And today I've got such a special guest. I've got Happy Black Legends.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Doing? Of course.
I can't believe you even asked me.
Siggy
I was like, seriously? I was like,
yeah,
oh,
no, we've been friends for a while. I feel like you're an early subscription. I'm a subscriber to you. What do you call your people? Do you just call them
I love that you say
legends?
Subscription, especially with your accent. It sounds so classy. Like, I don't know. I don't have any name for my peoples. I just say my peoples. I don't have anything.
That's fair. Yeah, no. But yeah, do you want to just, in case the people aren't familiar with you, share what you do, what your channel's about, what you're about?
So I like to joke with people that I upload whatever I want, because that's kind of the truth, because I'm a multifaceted clown. I have a lot of different interests, and they all kind of like just end up on my channel. I mainly talk about, I would say, like, well, maybe not political commentary, just overall social commentary. I talk a lot about race. I talk a lot about veganism, but I also have other interests such as like theater and music and dancing. I do pole dancing. But yeah, I'm a very passionate person. So whatever I'm into, I talk a lot about. And one thing I really like, a lot of people will tell you in order to be successful on YouTube, you kind of have to have like one shtick. But I will say the thing I appreciate about my channel is a lot of people subscribe for me. They don't subscribe just for like one topic. So I feel like that in the end is actually better for you, but it does cause a bit of a slower growth. But honestly, like I'm just thankful for where I am now. Like I can't believe it. I started my channel filming on my phone, editing on my phone. And so I'm really proud of where I am now. But yeah, so that's kind of what I do.
Yeah. And so you should. Exactly. Like that's what I love about like some of your videos. It will be about like really sort of, academic stuff, like about veganism and that kind of thing. And then you'll have a video where you're doing makeup like Princess Carolyn from BoJack Horseman.
Oh my God. I can't
This is a real video. I'm not making this up.
So wild.
This is my makeup tutorial where you can look like an animated cat.
I am literally done. I forget that people watch my videos. Like I'll post a video and be like, no one's gonna see this. Like it doesn't matter. And then like my friends or people will be like, I saw that one video, and I'm like, why? Like
the weird random one.
Yeah. Like why did you see that? I love it.
I love that, as you say, like, I don't know if it was before we started recording, but you like called yourself chaotic.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. It's just like, it's just a beautiful chaos, and it's just wonderful.
That's who I am, honestly, in my core.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very lovable. It really is.
Thank you, Queen.
So, yeah. Oh, well, so obviously since you are Happy Black Legends and you talk about veganism a lot, in fact, you talk about cows a lot. You've dressed as a cow. You make a beautiful cow, I must say.
Thank you. I've been told that now. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. Do you want to just tell the people, because I feel like you're a fairly recent vegan, right?
Yeah. So it's actually kind of crazy. So over 3 years, I transitioned into veganism, but it wasn't like an active thing I was doing. I was just literally giving up animal products one at a time. And growing up, I was surrounded by a lot of vegetarians, a lot of pescatarians. So like meat alternatives is not weird to me. So like that's one thing I've never understood with people that were weirded out by stuff like that. Because I grew up eating black bean burgers. I grew up eating like Morningstar has been a staple in my family's diet for years. My family were lactose intolerant, so I grew up drinking a lot of soy milk. And in fact, I hated soy milk for many years because of it, because I drank so much of it when I was young. And then I drank a lot of rice milk. And growing up, I always had 3 kinds of milk in my house. Usually regular milk, like cow's milk, and then lactate, and then usually like an almond milk or some sort of milk alternative. So growing up, I was surrounded by a lot of like vegetarians in my life. But it wasn't until 2020 that I started really questioning if I could go vegan. And I thought it would be years down the line, but it just happened very slowly. And what really pushed me over the edge was, I was really broke during quarantine and I couldn't afford meat. So I literally was eating rice, lentils, and frozen vegetables from the Dollar Tree. I don't know if you guys something like that where
Mm-hmm.
y'all are, like at the pound store. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but and then it was like 2 weeks, and I was like, I haven't had meat in like 2 weeks, and then I was like, you know, I'm gonna keep going. But I was really more plant-based. I was still eating honey, and I was doing it more so for the environment. It wasn't really an ethical choice. But Christmas Day 2020, that's when I watched Dominion. And that's when I realized I can't buy into this anymore. Like, I can't do this. And that's when I actually became vegan. But I've been meat free for almost a year and a half now. But yeah, I gave up. Growing up, we really didn't eat pork. I mentioned this before we started, but my mom's a minister. So in the Bible, like, you're not supposed to eat pork, but we still ate seafood, so we were frauds. But but growing up, I didn't really eat a lot of pork, so I never really had to give up pork. And then I stopped eating beef in 2019 because the Impossible Whopper came out. And like I said, growing up, I ate a lot of meat alternatives, so I really only ate beef when I would go out and get burgers. But the Impossible Whopper was so good that I just stopped eating beef. And then 4th of July that year, I had a hot dog, and it was so disgusting that I just gave up beef at that moment. But yeah, for me, it was slow. And that's what I tell people. That's the best way to do it, is to transition slowly. Because I don't know. How did you go vegan? Was it slow? Did you go overnight?
It was pretty slow. Like, I think, you know, I've been vegetarian I was vegetarian since like the age of 14. And then I stopped for a couple of years when I was, the thing is, I wasn't a proper vegetarian. I was pescatarian. So no offense to pescatarians. Just because my parents,
it's hard when you're a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I was lucky that my parents would even let me do that, because some people like wouldn't
They don't
even
have
be allowed.
that,
Whereas with them, they were like, okay, well, how about you still eat fish just because, you know, that's the compromise. And I was like, okay, fair. Then I started eating meat again when I was 18 for a couple of years. And then I went back to vegetarian, but like full vegetarian. And I kept trying to go vegan, but just found it difficult because I cooked with other people and that kind of thing. But then I think it was also Corona, the Panasonic, as we call it. The
Panadilla.
I mean, I've never been a fan of dairy. In fact, I think I might be a bit lactose intolerant.
Yeah, most of us are, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not meant for us, is it? And I just suddenly was just stopped missing things. I stopped missing chocolate. I stopped missing. I was just like, yeah, this isn't too bad. I mean, actually, that's a good thing, a good point. You mentioned you were sort of meat free or plant based. Like, do you want to define the difference?
Oh yeah, because I know people are going to be like, whoa. Okay, so when I was plant based, I was still consuming products that probably had animal ingredients in them. For example, sugar. A lot of people don't know that most sugar in the US, in other places, not so much, but in the US and in Canada, a lot of refined white sugar has animal bones in it. And I didn't know that because, like I said, I was plant-based. I wasn't doing it for ethical reasons. I wasn't in it for the animals. And then, like plant-based, I like to explain it in the most simple terms as plant-based is the diet and veganism is the lifestyle. So you can eat a plant-based diet, but still go to the zoo and still, maybe you still buy leather. Maybe you still wear makeup that has animal products in it that isn't cruelty free. That's someone I would say is eating a plant-based diet, but not leading a vegan lifestyle. And I think people get upset when vegans say this because they're like, don't shame people. Like, if someone's being plant-based, that's still great. And that's the truth of the matter. But the issue is people who are plant-based will say they're vegan, and then they'll do things that aren't vegan, and people will think it's okay to do those things, and it's not. And that's kind of where the issue comes in. So that's why I say I was plant-based, because I was not doing it for the animals. I was doing it mostly for the environment. Also, I just didn't like the taste of meat anymore, and I was broke, so I couldn't even afford meat. So I was just like, and I even when I was eating like plant-based during that time, I would always say like, maybe I'll go back. Let's just see how this goes. Now, I can't ever imagine putting meat in my body again. Honestly, I don't know. I just can't see that ever happening again. Like,
yeah, I think it is kind of, I mean, once you go there, sounds really ominous, but like once you sort of turn vegan or you do it for the animals, that's the reason you're doing it. I think it is really hard to like see all the things you've seen and then go back. I mean, we don't need to go into details of what goes on. Like,
exactly.
I mean, I think people know, and either they sort of choose to sort of block it out, or they can't, and they're like, okay, I need to really do something about this.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. Like watching Dominion and seeing everything, I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't. Cause, like, I was definitely one of those people that blocked it out. Like I was like, yeah, animals die, but they died. Like, and it's like that just doesn't make.
It's just how the world works.
Yeah, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and it's like, no, but it doesn't have to be. And I don't know, even. It makes me laugh when people think like vegans like want to eat meat, because like, I don't know, even the smell, I don't know if you experience this, but the smell of meat, honest to God, it makes me want to gag. Like sometimes if my neighbors are cooking, I'll have to close my vents and my windows because and I'll light incense and I'll start praying because I can't take it. I'm like, it's stanky.
No, I agree. Like, I'm the same. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't ever want to put that in my body again. Like ever.
No, exactly. And interestingly, you started your sort of story, your tale of veganism, saying that you couldn't afford meat anymore. And I think that's like a big misconception with plant-based diets. People like to go to it's a privileged, expensive thing.
That really makes me mad.
You're very vocal about that. Tell us about that.
That really makes me mad.
Baloney.
Because first of all, I used to think the same thing. Like, if you go back on my YouTube channel, you can probably find clips of me saying, I want to go vegan one day, but I'm poor. So, like, you can probably find me saying that. But the thing is, like, veganism has a very rich cultural history that a lot of people aren't aware of. The philosophy of not eating animal flesh is very old. It's not a new thing. The word vegan might be newer in the English language, but the idea of not eating animals and their liquids and their fluids and whatever, and not wearing them, not exploiting them, it's very old, especially in Asian cultures and communities. And I've been really blessed to work in like an ethnic like Asian vegan restaurant, and I've learned so much about veganism and history of like mock meats. Like, a lot of people don't know that mock meats are old. Like, this is not new stuff, and a lot of vegan recipes are not expensive. Like, soy and beans and rice and wheat, those are very cheap products. Like, and I don't know, like, I do not drive. I have to walk everywhere to go grocery store shopping. I just feel like if I can do it, there's so many people that can do it. And I have vegan friends online who live all around the world who still are vegan. So I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and be like, everyone can go vegan, because I know that there are people in certain situations who at the moment cannot go vegan. But I do think everyone can take more steps to live a vegan lifestyle. I honestly believe that. And I think the idea that it's this privileged thing, unfortunately, comes from like influencers. Unfortunately, you see a lot of like skinny, milk complexion, like tall people,
milky
milky icons.
They don't just milk, but they are milky.
Who, like, they live in these beautiful islands, and they eat like banana stew slop,
live in a van.
And they're like, I'm vegan, and it's like, okay, that's great, but that's not what veganism looks like for everyone. And I think for me, once I started to seek out vegans of color, once I started to look for other vegans who weren't rich, I realized that it's really not that difficult. And a lot of the stuff that I enjoyed eating as a meat eater, I still eat now, just vegan versions. I don't know. But, I live in California, so someone's going to be like, well, you live in California, it's easy for you to say. And I agree. That is, maybe it's easier for me because I am in California and because I have access to a lot of like vegan restaurants, things like that. But like I said, like, I know so many vegans who don't live in California, and they're out here doing the damn thing. So I don't know. Like, I don't know.
No, that's fair. I mean, I think, speak for me. I'll speak for myself. Exactly. I don't know. I won't speak for you, but like, I don't expect the whole world to go like perfectly vegan. I would just like to see people take steps and reducing their animal intake. Like, I don't know. It's just, I do think some of these arguments are used in bad faith. And that people will say, like, a lot of people that say, oh, it's just like a privileged white person thing. Like, a lot of people that say that are privileged white people who could afford to go vegan. That's
what makes me go crazy.
Because if it comes from,
makes me go. That makes me go crazy.
If someone who was on the poverty line said that, I'd be like, oh, okay, fair enough. Like, you're not in a place to do that. Like, I'm not gonna try and tell you should. You're just living, just live your life. But
exactly.
when there's a lot of time people say that are like people on Twitter, and I'm like, Not that I know that they're white, but you know what I mean. Like,
No,
I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I like, okay, I'll have people look me dead in the eyes at the restaurant I work at, and they'll be like, yeah, you know, I don't have the time or the money to go vegan, and they're literally spending $200 on like their lunch bill, and I'm like, sure, Jan. Like, in my opinion, if you have a car, like, I'm talking to Californians, but if you have a car and if you live in California, you can definitely go vegan, like, point blank, period. That's how I don't drive. I don't use Amazon. Like, there are a lot of things that I don't participate in, and yet I'm still able to do it. I'm also very intolerant to gluten, so that further limits what I can eat. There are vegans who can't eat soy, like, and they're still doing it. So I don't know. For me, it's just like there are steps you can definitely take, and when a lot of times people think that they're not involved in meat. Like, does that make sense? Like
Right.
like people. One thing I've noticed, and I'm actually going to do a video on this, because do you know Bob the Drag Queen and Monet Exchange? Do you know who they are? So I love their podcast. I've been getting more into their podcast, Sibling Rivalry, and they have this whole episode on veganism. And Bob was making a point that most people who eat meat are doing so at the cost of our planet, and they don't need to do it. And Monet was like, that's not true. There are many people who need to eat meat. And that's the thing. A lot of people think that they are a part of the group that needs meat, when in reality, they're a part of the group that's causing the most harm. And it's like, you don't need meat. Like, you really don't. I just feel like there are definitely steps you can take. And I took those steps, and I took them very slowly. I listened to my body. I gave my body time to like adjust. Like, my Lyft driver yesterday was like, oh yeah, I went vegan and I felt terrible. And I was like, what did you eat? And he was like, salad and fruit. And I was like, sir, you were missing the protein. Like, where were the carbs?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where was the nutrition? Like, and you know what? A lot of people don't know what they're eating, and people don't realize people don't understand food. That's honestly the real situation, because people think they need meat. No, you need protein. People think they need milk. No, you need calcium. They don't understand that there's different sources for these things. I'm not saying that in a rude way. Like, I'm saying that as someone who once had those issues. Like, I've had to work with a lot of nutrition or dietitians in my life, excuse me. And I learned a lot about food, and I was always shocked. Like, I was like, I didn't know that carbs were fine for you. I thought they were bad because Instagram told me they were bad, you know, things like that. So a lot of people don't know about food, and that's why they think veganism is terrible, because they don't realize that, like, there's different sources for different things that your body needs. And a lot of people don't realize that vegans are probably more aware of what we're eating than most people, honestly. Like if we're being honest, like, we have to be more aware usually. So
yeah,
I don't
exactly. No, I know what you mean. Exactly. I think it's kind of, it's often, it's excuses, you know. I could never go vegan.
I used to say that all the time. That was, I used to sing that song every day, like, loudly and proudly. Like, you know, like, and I hear that, like, whenever people say that to me, I just laugh and I roll my eyes, and I'm like, do you know how many times I say the same thing? And they're like, really? And I'm like, yes. Like, like, I think every single vegan probably once said they can never go vegan. Like, if we're being honest, like.
Yeah, of course. Exactly. So your latest video was kind of about this topic. Do you want to tell us about it?
Oh my God. Well, I was just getting frustrated because I feel like people, like, I talked about the cultural history of veganism for many different cultures, like, not just, you know, Black people or Asian people, but there's so many different people around the world whose ancestors ate mostly plant-based, whose ancestors helped create these vegan recipes that we have and love today. And when people say things like veganism is a white thing, number one, you're literally just, you're ignorant to the history of food. You are being ignorant. Number two, you're erasing like hundreds of vegans of color. Number three, what are you doing to make veganism more accessible? What are you doing? I just don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you're talking about. I just get so frustrated. Like, I just get so mad, especially because, like, people will say veganism is a white thing, and then you'll literally have like 10 or 15 like indigenous, Black, brown, like whoever vegans like commenting like, hello, I'm here. And they just get ignored. And it's like, that's the issue is people don't, and I did the same thing. Honestly, I would have gone vegan a lot sooner if it hadn't been for the Black Lives Matter movement, I'm going to be very honest right now. I saw a lot of like really racist statements coming from white vegans, and I was on my journey towards veganism, and that really like turned me off from vegans and veganism completely. And I was like, ew, like, but I realized like that's like one or two people talking. How can I just erase the entire philosophy because of one or two bad eggs? Just eggs or whatever. But I was just kind of, I realized like, oh, these are people I just don't agree with, but there are other vegans who I do agree with. You just have to kind of find your circle. And we have social media now. It's really not difficult to go on social media and be like, Black vegans or, you know, whatever vegans. Like, it's really not difficult to find people who look like you who are also eating plant-based. It's really not that hard. And like I said, it's just really frustrating to like remove vegans of color from the conversation. It feels really like it feels almost like people are doing it on purpose so that they don't have to confront their behaviors for eating meat, or like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like it's just like, oh no, we're just gonna ignore you and just continue talking about one aspect of veganism that we don't like. Like, for example, that vegan teacher. Yeah, it's convenient. Like that vegan teacher, she is so bad. She is so bad for us. And I just personally, honestly, I jokingly tweeted this, but I do think she really is like, I think she was hired by the meat industry to infiltrate TikTok and make vegans look bad. That is my honest opinion. I have no proof.
What, like the tramp stamps? Like how the tramp stamps were an industry plant. She's like a fucking...
she works for like
dairy industry.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, she is so over the top that I wouldn't... it's not impossible. Like she's very theatrical.
She is just,
and she actually has multiple personas as well. So she does
characters and things like that. I don't know. She just, in my opinion, I think she was hired by Big Ag to make vegans look bad. That's my honest opinion. But like, for example, people will point at her and be like, this is veganism, and it's like, no,
it's really
that is not like it is not veganism.
Yeah,
we don't claim her, and we don't like her.
Yeah, exactly. That being said, I do agree with you when you say that people sort of quite intentionally don't listen to, you know, normal vegans and just go to the weirdest ones because it helps their argument. On the flip side, I think what you said about you would have gone vegan sooner if it wasn't for some racist vegans. And I think that's a really important point because although there are so many vegans of color and we shouldn't erase them, if you go on YouTube recommended, you're going to be recommended white vegans, right? And therefore, I wouldn't blame people for getting the impression that like
that's all veganism is.
Social media veganism, or like whatever you call it, like as an industry, does appear very white, because the biggest vegan YouTubers, as far as I'm aware, a lot of them are white, right?
Like before I went vegan, the people I was mostly looking at was Unnatural Vegan. I did not agree with Freely the Banana Girl, but I watched her. I did watch her, and I was like, this...
Is she still around?
I don't know. I love watching her tear down ex-vegans. Her bouncing on that ball and being like, actually, like, and she's sipping her like banana slop. I'm like, I can't handle this woman. She is bad. Like, she is really, I think she's bad for the movement too, but hey.
But it's anyways, like a circus.
Like, But so those were the two vegans that were like the biggest vegans that I knew of. And Unnatural Vegan honestly was helping me go vegan. And then during Black Lives Matter, her video was so bad. And then I started seeing all these like vegans, like these people being like, why should we care about humans? The cows are dying. And I was like, okay, like, why can't you care about both at the same time? Like, that's scary.
Yeah, it's not, you don't have to choose.
Like, yeah. And then to me, it's like, I don't know if you ever saw hashtag Pig Lives Matter, but stuff like that.
No.
It was bad. It was really bad. And
did they mean actual pigs, or is
no?
That
they meant like no. They meant like actual like oinkers, like piggies. Like they meant like Pigs Lives Matter. Like, and I was like,
still,
what is going on?
Still, no.
So that's all I was exposed to during the month of June, and I honestly feel like I would have gone vegan a few months earlier had I been exposed to different vegans. But see, after all that happened, I just Googled black vegans and just surrounded myself with black vegans. And then I just watched vegans of color. Like, that's what I did. But not everyone's going to take that extra step, like, after you've been.
Because you were already on the journey.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Like, I was already kind of like aware of it.
Yeah, if there's someone who hasn't like ever had any kind of exposure to it, I can see how that would be really off-putting, especially when you compare. The biggest one is like comparing big agriculture to the slave trade or the Holocaust. Those are the big ones, and that I just think is so toxic for so many reasons. And you made a video about this, and you were so. Do you want to tell us your thoughts on that? Because you have really great points.
I don't know. I just think it's really bad. And I hate when, like, white vegans try to appeal to black people and they're like, don't you think slavery is bad? And it's like, okay, I don't know. First of all, like, I don't know. Like, first of all, there's a huge, long history of black people being compared to animals. So, like, you doing that is only contributing to that. And then what's really frustrating is you'll express the reasons why that's kind of problematic, and then vegans will go, well, you're being speciesist. And it's like, okay, like, I don't have anything to say.
What do I say?
Like, there's nothing to say. So I'm just like, okay, well, you're still being racist. Like, we can just keep going back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't really know. But I don't know, it's not a good look. And I feel like if your goal is to reach more people, you should think about the best way to do that. And I feel like getting people's face and being like, you are contributing to the pig Holocaust doesn't make any people. First of all, people have no idea. People don't understand what goes on in factory farms. So when you say that to some random person, they literally think you're crazy. Like they don't understand what you're talking about, because a lot of people are unaware of the fact that pigs are oftentimes sent to gas chambers, and that's how they're they usually are either stunned or killed in gas chambers. And that is an honest truth. But people don't know that. So when you're just walking up to someone and being like, you're a pig murderer, you're contributing to the pig Holocaust, it's like, it's not a good look. And if you're really trying to help people go vegan, you really should maybe go about it in a different way. But also, I get it, because sometimes I wake up and I am just so mad at everybody. But that doesn't give you an excuse to, like, be racist or anti-Semitic, in my honest opinion. And again, it just sort of contributes to the idea that veganism is like a privileged white thing. Like years before I went vegan, I've always considered myself someone who was left leaning, but I never understood animal rights activists. Never. As a teenager, it just made no sense to me. I was like, how can you care about a bunch of chickens when people are dying? Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And then I realized, like, you can care for all, and like true liberation means everyone, like, you know, not just like a select few people. It really means everyone, every being. But a lot of people, like we already said, like, they just see people being so racist and just terrible, and they're like, I don't want anything to do with this. Like, you're nuts. And unfortunately, that's what happens to veganism a lot of times. Like, I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know, for me, as someone who has always been left leaning and has always cared about the freedom for everyone, it doesn't make sense to me to just put all your energy in one basket. Why not fight for the rights of everyone? Like, you don't have to, like, carry everyone's struggles on your back 24/7, but, like, it's really not that hard to just express empathy or, like, kindness to someone. Like, it's not that hard. But people act like people just act like it's impossible. And again, I thought I used to think that vegans were stupid, because I was like, how can you care about chickens when there's way more going on? But again, you know, you realize oppression is honestly connected a lot, and there's this sort of philosophy called intersectionality, and it was actually created by a Black woman, and I cannot remember her name at the moment, but
Kimberly Williams Crenshaw.
She coined the term, and it's basically the idea that oppression is like, okay, you and I are both women, right? But the oppression we are going to face is going to be different. Like, first of all, we both are different countries, but second of all, like, you as a white woman and me as a Black woman, we're going to face different kinds of oppression. That's kind of the idea of intersectionality. So, like, for example, like a disabled queer person is going to face a different sort of oppression than just an able-bodied queer person. It's like different. And that's sort of the idea of intersectionality. And even though the term has sort of been used in different ways and has sort of been blown out of proportion in different ways, in my opinion, oppression oftentimes is linked. And especially with animal agriculture, number one, it's endless murder of billions of creatures, which is just sad in and of itself. But also it negatively impacts our planet and humans. It's really bad for humans. A lot of like factory farms are built in poor communities of color, and the pollution that these factory farms can causes health problems for these people that live in these communities. People don't understand that it's not just about eating a burger. It's about the amount of harm that it cost and that it took to just have that burger when there's other options. They don't see all the harm it took for them to get that burger, you know? And it is really frustrating. And like, I was actually joking with one of my online vegan friends recently, because I was like, sometimes I need to start taking breaks from Twitter because it's turning me into a very bitter vegan. So like, sometimes I just get really mad. Like sometimes I just wake up and I'm just on 100 and I'm just like, if anyone says anything to me, it's gonna be bad. Like, and like I've mentioned, I work at a vegan restaurant, and sometimes customers will make like jokes about meat and stuff, and I'll just smile and be like, we don't do death here. Like, and I'll just say like really aggressive things. And then later on, like, that was kind of rude, but also it's just like, sometimes you just get so mad because it's like, you know, our planet is like dying, and like animals are dying and we're dying, but no one really cares. And it's just crazy to see. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you see people say, if there's like a really cute video of pigs enjoying life, and then people comment like, oh, I bet they taste delicious. And it's like,
honestly,
what is wrong with you?
Honestly, yeah. I was telling my friend that, like I was joking with her because, some of my coworkers are vegan, some of them are not, but so she's vegan, and I was telling her like,
at a vegan restaurant.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh yeah. A lot of people,
Ooh.
Not everyone who works there is vegan, but I will say, since I've started working there, most of the meat eaters who work there, excuse me, I'm sorry. Ooh, that's the matcha. Most of the workers there, since I've started, they've made a lot more vegan choices. And honestly, most of the people in my life since I've gone vegan have made more vegan choices, because they're like a lot of my friends, they joke with me, but like I'm friends with this couple, and they've both told me on separate occasions that they don't like to eat chicken meat as much anymore, because I told them, like, one of the moments that made me go vegan one day was I was air frying a chicken leg, and I was looking at it when it came out, and I was just staring at it, and I was like, that's a leg. Like, that is someone's body. Like,
it's fucking weird. It's weird.
I'm pretty sure that was the very last time I ever ate chicken. I'm not 100% sure, because I was eating it and just kind of like chewing it and just like kind of looking around, and the gears were turning, but I wasn't there yet, you know? But I just remember eating it like, I am eating like meat off of someone's body. Like, this is freaky. Like, I don't know. And that's when I started kind of getting freaked out. And so now, like, he'll send me pictures of his vegan chicken nugget haul, and I love that. And he's pretty much stopped eating cow's milk altogether. He's pretty much only eating oat milk. So a lot of the people in my life have definitely made a lot more vegan choices because of me. And I've had people will comment on my videos all the time, like, I'm gonna go vegan because of you. And I'm always like, that's insane. Like, that's wild. Like, I don't know. I'm happy. Like, I'm happy, but I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, because sometimes I feel like I'm just yelling from a soapbox and like no one's listening, you know?
Yeah. I love that though. That's great. Well, it's really, I think I talked about this with the queer Kiwi and Kat.
Yes.
On one of the first episodes, and I was talking about like mental health as a vegan. Like, do you get vegan fatigue? Because honestly, I feel most of the time I feel really hopeless, and I'm like, I just don't feel like we're going to convince people. I don't know. That's a lot of the time I feel like that.
I think,
how do you deal with that?
I definitely get that. But at the same time, I've surrounded myself with community. Number one, like, once I went vegan, all my friends and family, like, I already mentioned this, but they were just happy to see me eat. So they didn't really care what I was eating. They were just happy to see me start eating again. So like, all of my friends and family have been 1,000% supportive. No one in my immediate circle they might make jokes, but it's never from a place of meanness. If we're going out to eat, usually it's at a vegan restaurant or a restaurant with multiple vegan options, not just like one little thing for me. So I always feel bad for people when they don't have that community around them, because I think that's honestly the number one important thing is community. And I also work at a vegan restaurant, so I am surrounded by vegans a lot. And then even if you don't have that in real life, for example, online, I surround myself with vegans of color, Black vegans, queer vegans. That helps me so much. I think having vegans who look like me and have similar experiences like me. I think following really nice vegan YouTubers is helpful. Watching uplifting vegan content is really nice. I like watching vegans dunk on meat eaters. That keeps me going. That fuels me. That's something I do frequently. Because I think that's honestly the best advice that I would have. I would say like community is the most important, whether it's online or in real life. Community is what will keep you going. And that's what's definitely helped me keep going. Like all of my friends are so supportive, and my heart aches for people who online will be like, you know, I'm so sick of my family. They're so inconsiderate. They don't care that I'm vegan, and they refuse to, you know, respect me. And I'm like, that's honestly terrible. And honestly, I feel like if those are the kind of people you have in your life, they don't need to be in your life. Even if that's family, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know, like my friends and my family, they love me for who I am and they accept me for who I am. And they don't really care. So I feel like community is the number one thing. Cute animal videos, but don't read the comments, because like you mentioned, the comments are often terrible. Like, I love cows, but cow videos. Okay, you know what? Also, this is something that really started pissing me off on Instagram. I would watch a cute cow video, but then in the background, I'd be like, what's going on? And I'd click on the profile and it was posted by like a dairy farmer. And I'm like, you don't get to participate in this. Like, I don't know. So I sometimes like animal videos are
it's
like
very much whitewashing what they're doing.
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. Like sometimes I have to watch the video real quickly and just keep scrolling. Because if I think about it too hard, like it will go down a spiral. But I would say watching animal videos from sanctuary specifically is probably your safest bet.
That rescue.
Exactly. But watching cute animal videos, because those comments are always nice, but like cow videos on YouTube piss me off so bad, because people will be like, wow, this cow is playing with a ball. It almost makes me feel bad for eating it. Anyways, and then you're just like, okay, like that just gets me so heated sometimes. Like
yeah, that's what gets me heated, is when you get people that like love dogs but don't understand that cows are basically just big puppers. Like, have you ever seen like the videos of cows playing with like running around with dogs? They're basically like they're peers. They're very similar.
They're so
animals,
sweet,
but just they're bigger. Yeah,
I love cows. So, I went to the county fair this year. And all the animals I saw there were in poor condition. They were in terrible condition. And it was actually, we saw these chickens, and at first I was like, why is there a turkey in there with the chickens? Like, that's odd. And then as I got closer, I realized it was a rooster, but the others had pecked out its feathers so bad that it was bald. Like, its entire head was bald. And my friend, who isn't vegan, but I think he's on the path to going vegan, he's really into the environment and he knows a lot about animals. So when he saw the state of the chickens, he like grabbed me because he realized what was going, like we both realized at the same time what was actually happening. And then we saw some cows and they looked terrible. And then there was like this pony, the pony rides. Watching it was crazy because the kids are smiling and they're like, yay! And the ponies are all just like exhausted and they're walking all slow. And I'm like, that's wild. Like, that's wild. Like, people just, I don't know, man. I don't know. I had nothing to say about that, but I want to go to like a sanctuary and spend time with like happy cows and like feed them, just lay down with them. They're my favorite. My dream one day is to like pole dance for a bunch of cows, like perform for them. Like, if I could do that, I would be like, that's my goal.
They would, I'm sure they'd be delighted, maybe a bit confused, but I think ultimately they'd be delighted.
I think so too. Oh my gosh. Like, there's actually this weird thing where there's a lot of pole dancers who are also vegan. I don't know what that's about, but there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And there's this woman on Instagram who I absolutely love. Her name's Vegan Pole Dancer. And she taught me, I took one of her online series, and she got to pole dance for cows. And I was like, you are literally living my dream. Like, and the cows were just surrounding her watching. And I was like, that is literally my ideal goal in life. Like, that's on my bucket list. Like, but yeah, I love cows are honestly probably one of the biggest things that helped me go vegan. Like, learning about them, watching videos about them, seeing how they interact. Like, I was like, these things are just so cute. And beef was the first meat that I gave up, like instinctively just said, I'm no longer eating this anymore. And dairy was actually the first animal product that I completely removed from my life, which is ironic because that's the one I thought would be the hardest. And it was hard. Dairy took me about a year to remove completely from my life because I was addicted to cheese.
Hard.
Yeah, cheese and ice cream. Like, not milk, not anything else, but cheese and ice cream. And the vegan cheeses and ice cream back then were terrible. Like,
yeah,
3
and
years
it's
ago,
still
they
a bit
were so
hard
bad.
to find good vegan cheese, I find.
Okay,
or
I
at
was
least in the
going to
UK.
ask you, like, what's it like in the UK for vegan products? Because in California, I can pretty much get, not just in California, honestly, I want to be clear. I live near LA, so there's an abundance of culture where I live. So if I want vegan Indian food, if I want vegan Chinese, if I want vegan boba, if I want vegan cheesecake, I can get it. Like, honestly, there's not, I've had a vegan alternative for pretty much everything except, I've actually had a vegan alternative for pretty much everything, actually, now I think about it.
Yeah. No, to be honest, it's actually great in London. London is amazing for food.
Oh, yeah.
anyway.
I get so jealous of y'all
Yeah,
sometimes when I see a new fast food chain roll something out. I'm like, Christmas. Like,
yeah, exactly. And for vegan food, it's actually really good. It is. Like, I think the reason I say that it's hard to find good vegan cheese is that maybe it's just because A, I'm not that big a fan of cheese anyway, and B, I think there's a difference between like a really good vegan dish and like a vegan product. Like, I still find milk and milk alternatives on their own not very nice, but nice in things. And I think that's how I feel about vegan cheese. It's like, I can have it in a burger and stuff, but I wouldn't just eat it as
I see
it
what
is,
you mean. I see what
personally.
you mean.
Yeah.
I will say Follow Your Heart came out with blue cheese crumbles recently, and that blew me away because blue cheese is one of my favorites. It used to be one of my favorites. Like blue cheese and ice cream were dead ass two of the biggest reasons why I thought I would never go vegan, and I gave them up first. So I don't know. It's just crazy to think about, but like, those crumbles were crazy. They were insane. Like, they were very close to blue cheese. And I don't know, like, it's actually getting a little too creepy out here, I think, for some of the mock meats. Like I've had some mock meats
Too close.
way, like, I had a meatball sub a few months ago, and honestly, I know it was vegan because the place I ordered it from, it's a 100% vegan restaurant, and the owners have been vegan for like 30 something years. But I was like, this is disgusting. Like, and maybe that's because I've been pork free for so long, but I was like, this is gross. Like, I don't know. And then,
Yeah, I don't like it when they're too accurate, to be honest. I don't like meat. So.
do you guys have Impossible meat out there?
No,
Oh,
I
really?
don't think so. But we have similar things.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Maybe we do.
They've gotten wild.
No,
out here. That's unfortunate. I will say
They're going to come to the UK. They're coming.
Okay,
They're
that's
coming.
good. They're coming. They're here. But yeah, like, Impossible meat helped me go vegan. But recently I tried the Impossible nuggets, and those were disgusting. And I knew immediately that this was made for meat eaters because it honestly tasted like chicken. Like, I really was grossed out. I couldn't even finish. I ate one and was like, it had that like slimy meat texture.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is going on here? And the only reason I wanted to try it was because I kept seeing tweets that people's cats thought it was real meat. And I was like, I have to try it. Like, cause cats are real meat eaters, you know? So I was like, okay. But yeah, what are some of your favorite vegan alternatives? I'd love to hear. Like, what are some of your favorite vegan products?
Yeah. I like I really like a vegan sausage roll. I don't think sausage rolls are that big of a thing in the US,
Wait,
are they? You don't really...
No, but have you seen that clip of Boris Johnson going, vegan sausage roll? Have you seen that before?
No? That sounds great. No. I'll put that in. You
gotta watch it.
I've also eaten vegan sausage rolls. Have you eaten a vegan?
I've not, but it's
amazing. I'll find it.
But when you said that, I made that face because I was like, oh, I've only heard it in the meme. I just forgot it was a real food. Yeah, we don't have from the pictures I've seen, it almost looks like a pastry with just meat inside almost. That's what it looks like when I see it.
That's basically what they are.
Okay, yeah. We don't have
it's like a savory,
like
nice savory pastry.
We have pigs in a blanket.
I'm a big fan of sausage rolls.
But that's it, yeah.
Okay. And Marks and Spencer, who are a supermarket, which I don't think you get in the US, they are really good with vegan stuff. They do like lots of, they have this thing called like Plant Kitchen, and they have like a vegan hoisin duck alternative, which is great.
Okay, I've never tried duck.
And they have vegan sweets as well, like vegan caterpillars and snakes and stuff, like gummy sweets, which, I mean, we're pretty lucky over here. Like, I feel, we're good. California, London, both good places to be vegan,
honestly, I would say, one of my goals, if I'm ever like, I mean, I never want to be as big as Mr. Beast, but if I'm ever even half as successful as he is and I have money, I want to really do this. I want to create like a show where I would go to like some of the most difficult places to be vegan and live there for a month or something and try it out. And I really want to do that one day. That's like something I want to do really badly, because
that's such a cool idea, because I really think that would encourage
people. Because like obviously like we're sitting here like, oh, we have everything we need, like, you know, but there are people,
exactly,
like
we're kind of the worst people.
Like obviously but like I have vegan friends who like they don't live anywhere near some place where they can get some of the things we have, but they're still able to make it work, and they're still able to get things. Like I have friends who lived in other countries even, and they've told me their experiences of being vegan there. So I've always wanted to try that out. Like I'd love to go to like Russia or somewhere, just somewhere random. Well, I mean, Russia's not random, but like just somewhere, just even in
somewhere
America,
rural,
like somewhere, and just really see what it's like, and stick to a budget that's typical for the area. Like I really want to do that one day, because I think people don't know what's in their grocery stores. A lot of people don't look in their grocery store. I'm someone who goes up and down. Honestly, but I'm someone who goes up and down the aisles and I look for things, because I find all sorts of new vegan products almost every day. Not just at grocery stores. Like I've mentioned, I've had to shop at the Dollar Tree many moments in my life because I literally was that broke. And even at the Dollar Tree, I actually just bought this vegan gluten-free like chia or some sort of like hemp, some sort of pasta thing from the Dollar Tree of all places. So it's honestly crazy what they're doing with food. And when I tell people that there's vegan alternatives for certain products, they're really shocked, because they don't know that they can get it at their local grocery store. People just don't know that they can go to these places, you know? And like I said, like I don't shop at certain stores because I'm against like their thing. Like I don't like to go to Walmart. I don't like to use Amazon, but there are some people who that's all they have. And Walmart has a crap ton of amazing vegan products. I was actually shocked the few times I've like been and just walked around. I'm like, that's insane. So
exactly. And I think it's worth mentioning as well, personally for me, my favorite meals that are vegan aren't necessarily ones with like mock meats. They're just things with like beans. Like I love a chili, or they're like pasta dishes or risotto, which is just vegetables. Like you don't have to get these like, because I think those are the things that are the most expensive mock meats.
100% the most expensive.
Whereas like beans, you know,
it's so cheap.
Very cheap.
And then after a while, you don't like mock meats anymore. Like there are lots of things that I used to love eating when I first went vegan that now it's too much. And even at the vegan restaurant I work at, some of the meat there I do not eat. I don't eat it at all.
Really?
It's too much. Like the owner, she made this smoked pork, and the first batch was fine. The second batch, I was like, what kind of wizardry are you involved in? And she was like walking around, she was marinating these like soy meat flakes like in these bags, and she was like, look at my meat, honey. And I was like, I don't want to eat that. Like, But it was crazy. So honestly, like after you go vegan, there's a lot of things you don't like anymore. But there's some things, you know, every once in a while I do like to splurge and like treat myself. But I would say the most like mock products that I purchase honestly are plant milks. Because I love my matcha. So I drink a lot of matcha. And a lot of plant milks now, they're fortified, so they have a lot more protein, calcium, B12 than they ever had before. So I don't know, it's crazy because I've been consuming, like, you've been vegetarian for a while, or you've been vegetarian before you went vegan. So I'm sure you can say this too, but like, isn't it wild seeing how many more products there are just within the past few years?
It's changed so drastically, and I think that does give me hope. How quickly it's changed. It makes me think, oh, how much more could it change? And the fact that there's a market for it, I mean, come on, capitalism. Like they just want to make money.
Exactly.
But if that's going to make them money, then
they're going to do it.
Bloody buy those things. So they keep making them, and just that's what I think. You know, like
I agree.
And that's something I wanted to ask you actually. If there's people who's still listening who haven't taken the step yet but are curious about it, what would be your advice to them?
My advice, I mean, we've already kind of said some of it, but number one, transition slowly. I just personally think you are more likely to fail going vegan overnight than you are if you just go slowly. Like, that's just from my personal experience, just from what I've seen.
Okay.
I think going slowly is the best thing you can do. Number two, veganize your favorites. For me, chickpea like tuna was a huge staple in my diet. It was cheap, and my mom used to make it, so I had good memories associated with it. But I kept seeing like chickpea salad recipes in place of tuna salad, and chickpeas are actually a lot cheaper than tuna, usually by 10 to 20 cents per can, and you get more than you do in a little tuna can anyway, so it's a much better value, and it tastes just as good to me as tuna salad. So that was one of the very first vegan recipes that I put in my back pocket, because veganizing your favorites is going to help you set you up for success. I saw also on Instagram, preparing for when those cravings hit when you're first transitioning. Like for me, the only like real craving I had when I first gave up meat was buffalo wings. For some reason, I was really wanting some buffalo wings, like really badly. And it was like a period of 2 days, and I was like, God, I really don't want to go get buffalo wings because I've been meat free for almost a month, and I want to keep going, but like I'm really wanting some buffalo wings. And I realized it's not the meat I wanted, it's just the sauce. It's the seasoning. So I just got some tofu. I marinated in buffalo sauce. I put some onion powder, whatever I got to do, threw it in the air fryer, took it out and ate it. And it was just as good. It satisfied that craving that I needed. So I think transitioning slowly, veganizing your favorite foods. And the third thing is community, like I said, online and offline. Surrounding yourself with vegan content and vegan people, going to vegan meetups, probably the best. Though that's probably the three things I tell people: go slowly, veganize your favorites, and surround yourself with community. Also, like while you're veganizing your favorites, going to your local grocery stores and checking out like their vegan mock meats, checking out all the different products they have, you'll honestly be amazed at what your grocery store sells. And if you buy those products, like we said, they're going to continue to stock those products. So, you know, and if you don't want to go vegan yet, what I started doing was reducing my intake. I started opting out more for the plant-based version when I would go out to eat. Like, for example, for me, a big thing was the Impossible Whopper at Burger King. I honestly that was a huge reason why I ended up going vegan, because it was really nice. And I started trying other Impossible products, and it was just a really nice thing for me. So that's what I would say. What do you think is the best thing you can do to go vegan?
I would agree. I think just start making more vegan choices, more plant-based choices. And I think it seems really intimidating.
It does.
And that's why I agree with you that gradually, I think just start with small swaps, and then eventually it just won't feel like a big deal. Now, interestingly, a good friend of mine said she had the opposite experience, where she said that she kept trying to gradually going vegan, and it kind of made her less, what's the word? I don't know, just kind of, it would fizzle out.
Lost her
whereas
interest.
she said going cold, yeah, cold turkey did work better for her. But I think she did go from vegetarian. So what I would say is, if you are a meat eater, maybe start being vegetarian first.
Exactly. That's what I would say too.
And then, yeah, and once you get used to that, you can say, okay, what can I swap eggs out for? And just make more choices is what I'd say. And I think my tip as well, and this is more like a mental tip, is that don't expect perfectionism. Like, I think don't be so hard on yourself. You're already doing such a great thing by trying to reduce, and don't feel bad if like you slip up, if you just reach for the chocolate and you, I know after you feel a bit shit, but like, just remember that you've already done so much by not eating so much meat.
Every vegan has made a mistake. I've bought products and then I found out that they had like honey in them or stuff. And then I remember sugar for me learning about sugar, that was a setback. I'm not going to lie. Cause sugar is in everything.
I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, no, in the US, there's bones in our sugar. So you got to be careful. So there's only a few different kinds of sugar that we can eat. And that was a huge setback because sugar is in everything. And there's lots of products out there that could be vegan, but because it's just sugar and it doesn't specify what kind, you just don't know. So that was hard. And you know what? There are some vegans in the US who don't pay attention to the whole sugar thing. They just live their lives, and that's totally fine. For me, I just did not like the idea of eating bones, so I didn't want to do that. But you mean it's like a squeamish thing. Yeah.
Interestingly, you said that. I had this in the episode with the Queer Kiwi. We talked about. I don't know which burger it was at Burger King, but we talked about the fact that in the UK, that they cook it with animal fats, and like we were saying that in our opinion, we don't consider that vegan because we don't want to eat like animal juice. Exactly. Whereas there are people in the comments who said that they disagree with this and that they think that, it isn't really added harm because like the meat that was cooked in the restaurant was going to be cooked anyway. And like, it doesn't actually make a huge difference to them. And I do think that some people do just do it differently. And you know what? I'm like, I personally would find that gross and I don't want to ingest animal juice. But if you are a vegan who is okay with that and it's not a squeamish thing, like I'm just happy that you're cutting out, you know what I mean? And like, for example, some people, and I think this is another thing, like when you say you accidentally buy something that's not vegan, I always think it's better not to waste food unless you've got like an allergy and it will make you sick.
I usually give it to people. I give it to my neighbor's a chef, so I give it to her. I give it to my family. I'll go to, like I said, I work at a vegan restaurant, but not everyone there who works there is vegan, so I'll give it to people at work. Yeah. I try to get rid of it because I don't like to waste food either. And that's such an interesting, like, the fact that you brought that up about the animal fat thing is so fascinating because that actually happened to me. I went somewhere and ordered fries and I asked if they cooked the fries in the same oil as they do the meat and they told me no. And I got really sick. And I thought it was because I had gluten because I had gluten that same day. So I thought I was getting sick from the gluten. And then later on in the week, cause I have an air fryer. Okay. So leftover fries, you throw them in the air fryer, they crisp right back up. Right. So I was eating them throughout the week. And then like the last bit I had, I looked in the box, there was chicken bits at the bottom and I was so mad. And that's why, so I get sick. I don't know about anyone else, but I actually get really sick and I can tell when something's cooked with the meat. And whenever I go out to eat at a regular restaurant, I always have to ask. Like, I just tell them I'm allergic, and so that way they take it more seriously. But I'm like, I can't because I will get like really sick. I get really bad stomach cramps, and I'm not going to go into further detail, but it's not fun.
No, of course. Yeah.
And I agree.
And that's another point, actually. Yeah, there are people that go vegan for health reasons, not necessarily for animals or the environment. Someone I follow on Instagram, like they're literally allergic to meat. It makes them horribly ill. So, that's why it's really important to respect people's dietary things. Even if you think it's silly, it's their body and they deserve bodily autonomy. If they say they don't want to eat something, don't make them eat it. It's golden rule. In my opinion.
I agree completely.
But I think that's a good note to end on because I think you gave wonderful advice.
I know. I talk a lot.
No, you That's what I love. That's what we want. It's a pod,
That's
you know?
good, yeah.
Gotta talk. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you? Tell them plug your stuff. Tell them.
Alrighty, time to plug away. I am Happy Black Legends on most platforms, Instagram, Twitter. I'm not on TikTok. Maybe one day. TikTok scares me though, so
Same. Terrifies me.
I am every time I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna download that app. I'll see a screenshot of something and I'm like, I'm not downloading it. Like, I'm just not gonna do it.
It's like someone defending genocide, and you're like, no, actually,
like,
you know
no,
what?
actually.
I'm all right.
and I'm
you know
like,
what? I'll just.
I'm like, I don't need it. TikTok is so scary. But yeah, I'm also on YouTube. That's where I mostly post, is YouTube. And then if you want to further support me, I do have a Patreon. But yeah, all my links are always in my Linktree link, which is everywhere. So that's where I be. But
Exactly.
Thank you. I cannot
I'll
believe
just
you asked me
quickly
to be
show you
here.
Siggy.
Oh!
Oh no, of course.
Queen! I'm petting her on the laptop screen. Oh, she's responding to my pets. She knows I'm there. Hello, Siggy. She is so.
But no,
such an
honestly,
icon.
it's been. she is, as well as the cow. No, thank you for coming. I feel like we've, this has been a long time coming. We've been
I know.
watching each other's journeys. You've been along with my journey since very early on, and I really appreciate that.
I appreciate you.
In fact,
for
you're in one of my
supporting me.
videos.
No.
The one where I did 100K
Yes,
special where
I forgot
roast
about
my
that.
subscribers.
Yes, that was fun.
But I don't really roast you.
No, I
Because
was
I'm like,
shook
oh,
at
you're too cool. Yeah.
No, but thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you for like supporting like smaller creators. Like you do that all the time, and you always uplift like marginalized creators' voices, which is so important because, like you mentioned earlier, the algorithm, she's really shady and she don't like us all the time. So I really appreciate it because
It's the
that's
least
really
I could
important.
do.
I really appreciate it. Thank
No,
you so
honestly,
much.
absolutely.
Oh my god.
Oh, well, shall we say goodbye in the
Yes.
classic bye-bye now? Yeah, I'll count
Yes.
us down. So
Okay.
in 3.
Wait, can I say it in an
2,
accent?
1.
Goodbye.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, say it how you want to. However you like. Put your own spin on it. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.